We're grinding the gears of Final Fantasies 1, 2, and 3, and their place in Final Fantasy 14 in this issue of the Carbuncle Chronicle. Hello, adventurers, and welcome to the Carbuncle Chronicle, your podcast for everything awesome in Final Fantasy XIV. I'm Basil, and I play a Lalafell summoner named 4K Rydiske on Leviathan.
I'm Anna. I play a Lalafell dancer named Cormia Rydiske on Leviathan. Though in honor of our guest today, I also play a hero dancer on Coral.
It's true, because it's not just the two of us. Oh, no. We are very, very blessed to have two very special guests. You know them, you love them, you've been seeing them play all sorts of video games like way back in the day, and Here's the Storm, but much more recently in Final Fantasy XIV, amongst others, including other Final Fantasies. Whenever someone I ever see online ask for recommendations for people that should watch, or people they enjoy watching play Final Fantasy XIV, these two guys always come up, I think, the very first. While Anna and I, we may bring the romance, they bring the bromance. Please welcome to the show, Garrett and Kyle from the Grinding Gear Media Empire. Welcome to the show, guys.
Oh, what an intro. Oh, my goodness. I play an Ellison astrologian named Valgon on Coral.
Yes.
I play a pure Dark Knight called Tuna No Crust, also on Curl.
Hell yeah, you do.
That was wonderful. Oh, thank you for having us.
We're so glad you guys are joining us.
Yes. We'll be talking about Final Fantasies, the original ones. Well, sort of original ones. I mean, I'm guessing the Pixel remasters, but that's fine.
Look, I think you're the only one here that played the originals, so.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten my PS1 hooked up for the copy of Origins I was gifted to try out a more official, release of 2. But
is that not the one? No, skip that one.
But yeah.
Well, okay, so like the trick with those is that they are games designed to run on a cartridge, not off a CD.
I've heard this.
And so you get terrible load times all the time. And unlike like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, where everything was designed with the CD loading in mind, that's why you have like the cinematic like opening pans and endings for the fights and things. It's to disguise load times. You just get the loading in these old sprite games. That is not the way. I would very much say if you ever want to play them in their like original NES or Famicom forms, I am positive that there are ROM hacks for the original versions of those games that you can just play them in English. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I'm starting to get the bug to collect some retro hardware, and I was just like, well, darn, there's a bunch of Final Fantasies like I can't play because I don't know how to read Japanese.
That's been the weirdest thing about our opening journey here is the numbers are wrong and there's no material about them.
I've already met friends who grew up playing Final Fantasy because I didn't, that I've educated them on the numbering system of like 1 through 6 and its errors because they have somehow, even though they've played them, gone their whole life without realizing that they missed out on actual 2, actual 5, 3, 2, 3, and 5
Yeah.
We didn't get, right?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Yeah. I've actually quite recently had this discussion with a buddy. I'm like, what? You love Final, you're like the biggest Final Fantasy fan I know. You're not aware of this? He's like, no, it never came up. I'm like, yeah, man, there's 3 Final Fantasies you haven't played. Also, 2 isn't 2 and 3 isn't 3. Enjoy this. Do with this knowledge as you will.
Oh, I remember back in the day reading an issue of PSM where they're like, yeah, man, it's going to be called Final Fantasy VII. It's actually called Final Fantasy VII. They're just going to ignore that they had the weird names. And I'm like, wait, that's what was going on? Oh, man. Oh, so lately with the Pixel remasters. I feel they do I have some friends who gripe about them, but I think they're wrong. The Pixel remasters are a wonderful way to play these original games.
As far as I can tell, with the reading and the research that I've done, like they're pretty faithful. They're easier, and they can be really easy if you use some of the options where you can really crank stuff up. But it seems like the flow, the enemies, the dungeon count, all of that stuff is fairly well preserved.
Yeah, the real trick is that, well, for example, there's no mini map in the original games, and that if you really look at it, can sort of spoil you on like secret entrances or hidden paths that you normally would not see. You'd have to sort of experiment to get. And even the fact that the game's now in widescreen, again, it obfuscates less because the original games were designed in a 4:3 aspect ratio. But I think for what they're doing and being playable on modern systems on pretty much everything at this point, and they all run pretty well, I'm willing to accept those extra quality of life things and just enjoy the games. Like the core of those games are all right there, and they're all really fun.
I would like to give I would like to say woe is me on playing the Pixel remaster of Final Fantasy III, because jumping out of that window in, I think it was the Tower of Owen, I've looked up the 8-bit version of that, and that is way easier to see in an 8-bit environment than it is in the Pixel remaster. It is so subtle in the Pixel remaster. We were stuck for like 20 minutes. Like, where do we go? What do we do next?
Yeah, I've also I never played any Final Fantasy before 8. So in the last year I have started the Pixel remasters, and I'm currently working my way through 5. But yeah, there are many times I'm like, Basil, what do I do? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, you played this on stream not too long ago, and you've played it before. He's like, I look up a guide. It's like, thanks, son.
Look, I play games in the moment, and then the moment's gone, and then so is my brain cell.
We say the same thing all the time. Anytime we return to something in 14 that we've done before, like chat's always like, how do you not remember this? I'm like, listen, it's like studying for a test in high school. The second it's over, that information falls out of my brain.
Yeah, that sounds like Basil and I. Like, cause for some reason I can. I say for some reason. So I had to learn to play 14 on a toaster of a laptop. It was worse than probably a PS3, and I thought I was terrible at the game. Could not beat Titan to save my life. Turns out my computer was just shit. But I learned how to play the game by memorizing the fights very well and anticipating the mechanics. So unfortunately now I can still remember mechanics. So when we go back and do older things, I'm like, yeah, it's just this. And Basil's like, we did this fight? Thanks, son. Okay.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, I know the pain.
That sounds like proper training, though, for Final Fantasy 14 rating. Like, that is what you end up doing, ultimately.
Oh, yeah. Like, when people were complaining about the just the snapshots with the Fall Guys event, I'm like, guys, this is how I learned how to play this game. Like, this is nothing compared to the weight of the lands in Titan.
Oh, I still feel that Fall Guys is one of the best way to introduce people to how some of these mechanics in 14 and how ping works so much better than some of the fights actually do.
It really does. I miss it. They need to bring it back.
It was around for a bit, but yeah, it's been a minute now.
I'm just nowhere near my 100 wins. I think I had 5.
Well, they've frankly been doing a really good job just giving us stuff to do.
They have.
That I don't think they need the quote unquote filler that is the Fall Guys event to tide us over or anything. There's so much with all the varied cosmic exploration of the Cult Crescent. Now with this awesome new deep dungeon they just introduced. There's so much to do in 14 that if they added Fall Guys right now in this moment in time, I'd feel like, no, y'all, please, I'm full. I'm good.
Yeah, you guys will learn. We are not the norm, I guess, Final Fantasy 14 fans. When people say there's nothing to do in this game, I'm like, you're not playing the game. Like, I've been playing this game for 11 years. I still have so much to do just because I'm insane, I guess, and want to collect everything. We've been playing nonstop for so long, and we still enjoy it. Like, we'll take breaks to play other things, but like, there's so much to do in 14. It's ridiculous. Probably why I don't play many. That's probably why I'm still only on 5 considering I started the remasters last year.
I mean, RPGs are big. They're very big, and then you add an MMO on top of it with coordinating people.
Yeah, and this is my first MMO. Yeah, I had never played an MMO before 14. When Basil, he and I first started dating when Realm Reborn came out, and he was like, hey, we really want to try this. We played WoW for a long time, and so we wanted to get into a new MMO, and he was like, would you mind playing it with us? And I was like, I've never played an MMO. He's like, it'd be fine. I'm like, okay. So I downloaded the free trial of WoW, logged into that once, got utterly lost and confused, and went, yeah, I'm not going to like an MMO. And so he said, look, I'm just going to buy it, try it. It comes with a free month. Just try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to play it again. And now I'm currently working on M8S. So, obviously.
Dang. That's a pipeline right there. My goodness.
Oh my gosh. That one is, we've had the worst luck with our raid group. We are currently missing a tank. Like, we had a tank and a healer had to leave due to life issues. So we're still stuck on the first, the tether mechanic in phase 2. That's where we are right now. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez. That was quite the experience. Let me tell you. I don't think I will ever forget my time with M8S.
I was very proud of you guys. I was incredibly upset that y'all beat it before I did, but I was very proud of you guys.
Oh, we had such an amazing shot caller. We were just dancing chickens, really, at the end of the day, like running with our heads cut off.
No, y'all were incredible.
That was intense. That was a performance, and since then we haven't tackled too many extremes, but I'm really excited to get back to those. Much like you said, there's just so much to do, like a sticker collection. I had this old Pokemon guidebook from Nintendo Power. You would take the stickers out of the back and put them in the book when you collected the Pokemon. And that's what extremes feel like. Like, you might get a mount, you might get a weapon, but does it really matter? It's just a fun fight to learn.
Oh yeah. I mean, that I have had to buy so many mounts with 99 totems, but they're all so much fun. And like I said, I've been doing Sphene with my extreme group, and I farmed it. I did it. I got my mount. I didn't want to think about it again. But then we started this group to get every extreme mount, and so we're doing it, and it's fun. Like, it just depends on who you're running it with, and all the Ice Bridge memes. Like, it's been a good time.
Oh my goodness! The idea of wait, is that anyone's first extreme in your group, or
no? We've all been together. I think some of them, their first extreme was Zodiark, so we started with Endwalker and got all of those. And that was their first extremes.
Thinking about the difficulty of Zodiarc versus the difficulty of Sphene Extreme is insane.
Yeah, this group has absolutely, they've improved so much. I've told them I will happily take them into an ultimate fight, which I just cleared my first ultimate a few months ago. I did UCOP with, there's a Discord that does events. Whoa. And yeah, so they're actually going to do the Fru, the newest one, the end of the month, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I've told them, I said, I believe I could bring you guys through an ultimate. I think they are so good, and they learn so well. The biggest thing is having people that are willing to learn and willing to put in the time, and they're all good at it.
Yeah, it's like really just like an attitude check and a plays well with others check more than anything else. It's
it's the ultimate cat herding experience. So
yeah, that mental fortitude. Yeah.
But to bring it all back to retro stuff for a moment, yeah, the reason why I was in this with this group was I wanted the culmination mount for all the mounts in an Endwalker, because it's the Final Fantasy IV Bahamut, but as a mount. And I joked when I want a rideable Baja Blast, and they all went, yeah, okay, we'll do this. And so I was hoodwinking folks, and many times we would need an 8th. And so I'm like, Anna, I really need to join this group because you know these things and we don't. And so she joined, and now there's actually like 9 or 10 of us. And we kind of have to swap in and out as mounts are collected, because we had such a good time doing all the Endwalker mounts. We're like, well, let's now do Dawn Trail. Dawn Trail's here. We don't know what the final mount is, but I'm sure it'll be cool. And everyone likes wings. So the joke is this one is the Red Ronique gives you wings campaign.
I appreciate that. As an energy drink enthusiast, I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
That's how Basil gets through conventions.
It's true. Well, that or copious amounts of coffee, one of the two. But speaking of really good successes. I've heard y'all did a very successful Patreon campaign.
Yes, congratulations.
Oh, keeping up on us. Yeah, it went quite well. It was quite the month.
Oh, and then I got sick. It was right up, but it's thank goodness we made all the way through it. It was a lot of fun. We've been playing Expedition 33 on stream for a big chunk of that, coming right out of all the retro Final Fantasies with Final Fantasy 3 right before doing the Manderville stuff. Just a kind of long list of things we were hoping to get to in the background of Final Fantasy 14 and getting that time to do it with the support of everybody. Thank you, anybody who's listening who supported. It meant a ton to us to be able to gather up our support and plans for the next year.
Yeah, I was really glad to see that y'all hit not all your goals, but a lot of them. And like I told Basil, I said he's gonna have to check out the Evangelion thing y'all posted because he's a big Ava fan, and I know he would enjoy that. So
we're working on an edit for it right now, but it's it's hard to get past copyright concerns.
Yeah, on YouTube.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of Evangelion, the Carbuncle Chronicle is also part of what I like to call the OSMcast family podcasts. My original podcast that I've been doing for forever. It's called the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. Well, a couple years ago, back when we were finally getting the final Evangelion rebuild movie and Amazon was releasing all of them, we decided to do a big old podcast series about Evangelion. So we've got one for the original show and End of Evangelion, then podcasts for each of the rebuild movies themselves, as well as a series of interviews with some of the voice actors who were in the rebuilds. So by the time I'm done in a day or two, by the time this episode releases for sure, you should be able to find it at awesomecast.com/Ava. So if you need yourselves or anyone else wants more materials about Evangelion, I've got you.
Nice. I haven't dipped into any of that, but I just wrapped up rewatching the original series. Pretty sure I never saw the final couple episodes because it did not ring any bells.
Yeah, when they did all that, that's the first time I'd ever actually watched it, and I am not a huge Ava fan, but all my friends are, so I'm like, I will let you appreciate it. So, but it was an experience.
That is an inarguable statement.
Yes, it is
certainly an experience.
It is an experience. I would attribute it to, it's essentially like my dad would get a new sound system and he would always play Apocalypse Now, the opening 3 minutes of it. And I grew up thinking, what an awesome movie. This must be the most badass movie that's ever happened. And then I got to watch the whole thing when I was in college. Kind of similar. Hey, you want to see a cool robot movie? Oh, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's definitely a time. I also remember this was also back when Anna watched it. It was one of the first times they were doing the Moogle Tombstone event. So we were house sitting for some friends watching Ava while essentially running Circus Tower over and over and over again. It was sort of a culmination of everything that we're talking about all at the same time. Speaking of culminations, in a week, I think this weekend, by the time this episode comes out, Anna and I will be at Gateway Fate. It's an unofficial Final Fantasy XIV convention in St. Louis, Missouri. And we're actually putting on 2 panels along with our usual co-host Tobias. We're doing a Final Fantasy XIV retro music panel. So a lot of the music that we'll probably be talking, at least some of it today, as well as a brand new panel I've been building over the past couple of months called Useful 14 Websites That Won't Break the TOS. And let me tell you, when I thought up this panel and submitted it, all the recent TOS things and breaking it and mods and all that stuff, that had not come up.
So when all that happened, we went, oh, Lord.
You thought you were just being cheeky, and now you're being topical.
Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't realize how prescient I was going to be.
Been a year for that. I mean, there's usually at least 2 major controversies in regards to breaking TOS, I feel like, per year, at least since I started playing.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this one was pretty spicy this year.
Yeah, I was thinking back to like the Omega Ray things with the whole, satellite strats, whatever they called it. And
Oh, UAV Online? Yeah. That was probably my personal favorite. It's also the first one I really paid attention to, but I just found the whole debacle pretty, well, entertaining as someone who, wasn't affected by it in any way.
Right. Oh, and I also do at some various conventions in the Southeast, like at MTAC and at MomoCon. I used to do it AUA back in the day. I would just do a sort of a generalized Final Fantasy 14 panel, where it'd be an overview, would talk about some of the expansions, and I also would include some helpful websites, so that people would always afterwards come and talk to me about them, and they'd have a couple of the websites that they liked, and they were really glad I brought up this website, or they never heard of this website. And so I thought, well, we're going to Gateway. It is nothing but 14 sickos. It's going to be great and amazing, and I'm looking forward to it so much that I thought, well, this focusing down on this topic might be useful. And then again, everything happened, and I'm like, well, okay,
Even more
now
useful.
I feel like I'm an oracle. Okay, good job, me.
So we're really excited to be going to that. Because and Basil knows I watch you guys because y'all are so positive when the 14 community is not a lot of the times right now. And I will say, online, I'm sitting here going, okay, I can't deal with 14 people anymore. But in person, everyone we've ever met in person has always just been so amazing. And so I'm looking forward to going to this convention to see like the good 14 fandom. So it's going to be exciting, I think. A long drive, but going to be exciting.
That sounds, that's so healthy. Getting to do a convention a year, like we used to do with BlizzCon, getting to kind of step outside the internet and get to put names to a face, or just see in general people hanging out and having a good time. It lets you rebuild that wall, because so much of the internet, like you can't take it too seriously. It's just inner thoughts, and even more so inner thoughts of that exact moment. That person might not even feel that way 10 minutes later, but now it's immortalized in text.
Yeah, I always think about how negative I would get back when I had a more traditional office job. And I was, engaging in video game discourse online. It's like, well, the second I got home and I was playing the game, I was in a good mood again. But like when I was, locked at work and was thinking about the game but couldn't play it, and just like I was more than happy to just get into arguments with strangers on the internet.
It's been just surprising to me, because if you ask online, how was Dawn Trail? People are going to be like, oh, it was terrible. Absolutely terrible. But if you go talk to people in person, they're like, that's pretty good. Story was fine. Story was good. It wasn't, Again, Garrett, I know you are. I am an Ascian sicko. I love Emmett. I love anything Ascian. So this was not my favorite. I loved Endwalker and Shadowbringers.
This can be the next 7 hours of this podcast if you want.
Oh, I told Basil.
You just want to be a dork about Ascians. I'm here. Let's do it.
Yeah, I told Basil, I said I would talk with you about Ascians for hours and Sailor Moon and Yu-Gi-Oh! With Kyle for hours.
Nice!
I would be so down with that. But yeah, so no, it's not my favorite. However, Basil has said it's probably his favorite expansion.
Damn!
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure I've met one yet. You're my first.
Well, here you are. Yeah, but and talking to other people, they're like, yeah, it wasn't bad. And we were thinking I think if you think of anything that 14 has put into the game, deep dungeons, just the events, what was it? We were talking about other stuff. Like any side content you can think of has been in this expansion. Like everything has been in this expansion. So like other people, when you talk to people outside of the internet, they've enjoyed Dawn Trail. Inside the internet, they have not. So it's interesting how the different perspectives you can get.
Yeah, I always wish there was some way to get any sort of metric on like folks that attend cons and how vocal they are on just any sort of internet community message board or just even like YouTube comments. Like, because I don't know, like hell of a week to tell me I'm positive. I've been called everything this week. So I'm not mad enough for the haters, and I don't think I'm positive enough this week for the fans. But even when we put out something that's divisive, it's like, I can look at metrics that don't involve people directly leaving a comment, and like usually it's pretty standard. Like, we had a big 7-3 talk this week, and I caught a lot of flack for it, but it was
great.
To pull YouTube metrics, like the like ratio was really healthy. Then the views were solid, above average for us just chatting MSQ. And so I'm like, interesting. The comments are, everyone just kind of arguing, and most, like, I guess to try and be as fair about it as possible, the comments were almost across the board, folks picking out whatever they disagreed with and making that their comment, and then other people kind of latching on and agreeing with them. Not too many comments that were like, yeah, this is enjoyed it, y'all. Good talk. So I feel like I struggle to consider the folks that don't leave comments, because I'm like, well, a lot more people watched this and gave it a thumbs up than left a comment. So maybe they just enjoyed it and went on their merry little way.
Well, tell you what, I will start trying to leave a comment from now on, because I enjoyed it. I'm always terrified sometimes when I'm listening to anything 14 related, like, because again, people have been incredibly negative, especially this expansion, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great discussion, and like I said, this is the reason I keep watching you guys. Like, you guys and Mr. Happy are the ones that I'm willing to watch right now, and Jesse.
I really like Happy. Happy's good people, and he also has a great deal of patience, because every time we have him on, it pretty much devolves into us using him like Wikipedia for Final Fantasy XIV's history.
Oh yeah.
So we just bombard him with like, hey, have people been this mad in the past? Yeah, actually. And then he has like exact dates and patches and anecdotes.
Oh yeah,
to pull
I
from.
don't know how he remembers specifics like that, because I'm like, yeah, I know people have been like this before, but I could not tell you specifics like he can.
I mean, patience. It's so just to sing his praises again. Like, when you're asking him something, even if it is, what a teacher might call a bad question, maybe the class would call a stupid question. Like, he might be mad at the content of the question that he even has to discuss it, but he's so welcoming in the way he describes it and walks you through why it is the way it is, why this job is considered underbalanced and all that. He's an amazing resource, as well as just a cool guy to hang out with.
That's all. Yeah, that just reminds me of a professor I had in college. It was a music history class, and he was the type of teacher who would say, all right, who wrote Mozart's Requiem? And you would say, Bach. And he's like, well, I know why you would think that. And he would explain how that could have been a correct answer, even though it absolutely wasn't. So yeah, anybody like that is just up for sainthood, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's not anyone's job on the internet to be kind and have empathy and transform a disagreement into a curiosity. But it's so cool when people are able to do that. And we also love getting to talk with Jesse about the similar thing, because he's been through so many different gaming communities and seen so much over the course of his YouTube career. That bit of reference kind of lets you know that things are going to be okay. And with this expansion, there's so many people still just living inside of it who are having a phenomenal time and finding their ground. You're seeing new streamers and new content creators enter the game every single day, quest through that big, long MSQ, and still have the parades and the welcome parties and all this. The people who type comments aren't the same ones sitting there thinking about the con this weekend, sewing their cosplay.
Yep.
And I'll still remember, this was at the Nashville AnimeCon, Middle Tennessee Anime Convention, MinTech, where we're doing the 14-1, and I go, and I think, and I don't know yet because it's not done yet, but right now, Dawn Trail is shaping up to be possibly my favorite expansion yet. And there were a couple people who walked up to me after the panel and went, oh my God, I never thought I'd hear someone say that, but I kind of agree with you. And I'm like, yeah, Dawn Trail rips. Like, I liked the first half. I liked the second half. I've been enjoying the patches. So I really, my thoughts of Dawn Trail is that it's a really extremely well executed One Piece story arc, where, and what I mean by that is that Wook Lamont, she's not Luffy, we're Luffy. The Warrior of Light is Luffy, and the Scions are Straw Hats, and we're off to a new place with a princess or prince or someone in tow that they have a problem in their land, and we're going to learn about their land, and then we're going to solve their problems, and they're going to grow up with us along the way, and at some point, it's going to be out of their control. They're going to ask us for our help, and we're going to say, hell yeah, and we're going to go, we're going to gumu no frickin' bazooka into the enemy's face, and then we're going to have a big party afterwards. It's going to be awesome. That's Dawn Trail.
I know very minimal about One Piece. I've seen the Netflix show.
Same. I've seen one episode of the Netflix show.
Basil and my nephew are huge into it, so I hear about it all the time.
It's also when I explain to people that Avatar, The Last Airbender, it is anime, but not how you're thinking about it. No, what Avatar specifically is doing, it's Gundam. It's a 52-episode Sunrise show where also Dawn Trail does the same thing, where your first 15 to 20 episodes is table setting, it's world building, it's introducing things. And then just when you feel comfortable, you got a handle and everything, that's when they do the little twist. And you're like, oh, something's actually happening in this show. Okay. And then that's when it, quote unquote, gets good. And that's what, amongst the various books of Avatar, it does the same thing where the first chunk of book 1 is good. And then you get to that final fight and suddenly there's little twists and turns on setting up the table setting for the rest of the show. And once you get that twist, you're on board. For me, that was the same thing of Dawn Trail right up until right before Heritage Found. And something happens. And I won't say anything because spoilers, and I don't know if people listening to this, because we're talking about older stuff, they might not be current with Dawn Trail, but something happens. And at that point, I'm like, oh, I was enjoying myself. Now I'm locked in. Hello, weave this tale of Wook, Lamont, and Sphene. Please, please, please go on.
I'm trying to find what do we call that video at that time? It was essentially when Dawn Trail popped off, and we made a video at that kind of. It was called Finally.
I have to assume it was around Solution 9.
Yeah, and right now I'm reading through the Mistborn series, and that is, and Sanderson is very much a pop off kind of author. And then we've been playing Expedition 33. Like, it's so many things. When you digest them in your own bubble, it takes you an unnatural amount of time. I remember we were going through A Realm Reborn and even Heaven's Ward, and I would use the analogy a lot to Garrett of just like, when you're reading a book and sometimes you just go, oh, and you put it down. You just can't. It changes characters. It goes to some other side of the world you just weren't prepared to even think about, and just go, I can't right now. And then you come back, you're a little fresh, and you're just like, oh, this is how this ties into the greater plot. And Final Fantasy has always been very detailed about its ability of where everyone is, why they're doing what they're doing, and how long maybe even the travel time took them to get there to do that thing.
So, speaking about Final Fantasy in general, we should actually start getting into our actual general topic of the original Final Fantasies. So, my first question to y'all about that is, how did the two of you first learn about Final Fantasy?
Oh, God.
Oh, I remember. Oh, man, this was traumatic. It was intense. I changed schools in 7th grade, and I went from an Xbox school to the PlayStation school. No, there's no logic here. It was in the same state.
Kyle?
Yes?
Xbox was not out when you were in 7th grade.
It wasn't? Wait,
not even close.
Wait, what year was I in 7th grade?
That would have been
Wait,
like
what
98.
year was Halo?
Halo was, we were like 2 years into high school already.
What year was that? Hang on. We're doing fact checking here. We're fact checking my story.
Halo was November 2001, so almost 2002.
I think you're around my age, so you would have been a freshman.
Oh, PlayStation 1. I had it wrong. PlayStation 1 was N64, right?
Yes. Yeah, you would have gone from an N64 school to a PS1 school.
There we go. Okay, all right, so rewind the story.
Excuse me while I childhood explain you.
There we go, yeah. So 7th grade, I went from an N64 school to a PlayStation school. And I couldn't relate to anybody. They all had PlayStations. I don't know why they all had PlayStations. I think I was closer to like the tech side of town where all the tech parents worked all of a sudden. My mom worked for Intel. I don't know if that had something to do with it. But suddenly they all really cared about cloud, and something about Final Fantasy IX will always haunt me. That guy in armor standing in the back, just staring at me like I'm an outsider. He haunts my dreams as I tried to adapt to this new landscape that wasn't all based around Zelda and Mario.
I couldn't tell you when I learned about Final Fantasy. I was probably browsing video game magazines while I waited for my mom to go grocery shopping, because I would usually just go over to the magazine section and veg out until she was done. And I mean, the earliest memory I can remember told this story on stream a ton of times because I haven't gotten there yet. I've never played it. My only exposure is Kingdom Hearts, but I remember looking at some magazine. I don't know if it was, a PlayStation magazine or what, but I just remember Squall in the lead up to Final Fantasy VIII being on the cover of a magazine and just being like, this is the coolest video game character I have ever seen. And then I'm just being like, oh, it's for PlayStation. I will never play this because I also didn't have a PlayStation. I had an N64 at the time. But that's my earliest memory of like knowing it was a thing. And then Spirits Within came out, and that was kind of it.
It was freaking sweet, is what it was.
I love that for you.
Yeah, I had never heard about it until I got a Gateway 98, and it came with a disc that had a demo for Final Fantasy VII and Tomb Raider 2. And that is
a time.
Yeah. So I remember the 7 demo was some kind of Coliseum type thing, and you could summon this being called Shiva, and I was hooked. I was like, what is this? I need to play this. Unfortunately, my first Final Fantasy was actually 8, and I didn't beat it because I got to it was my first RPG, never played one, and got to the beginning of disc 4, and I had my friend come over. I was like, Josh, I can't beat this boss. He went, your gear and everything is just absolutely terrible. You're not going to beat this fight. And you could not leave that zone. So the only thing I could have done was restart the game. And I have not done that yet. This was...
Oh, wow.
One day I'm going to. That's why I'm playing through all of them now. And so one day I will beat 8. So 7 was actually the first one I did beat. I did 7, 9, 10, 10-2, then 14. So I'm a terrible gamer when it comes to Final Fantasy.
I did the same thing in KOTOR. I got to the final boss. I couldn't beat him. I had to restart the whole thing.
The only Final Fantasy I had growing up that wasn't a Kingdom Hearts game was I got a copy of 10 with my PS2. So after N64 ran its course, my next console was a PlayStation 2. And I was so in over my head. I didn't grow up with RPGs. Pokemon Red was it. Love that game. Probably the game I've still beaten the most to this day is the OG Pokemon. But just something about Final Fantasy X, like I just didn't even, like I was probably still a year or two out from thinking about games within a genre or like even just kind of pattern recognition from one game to another. So 10 just kind of like, it kind of stunned me. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd never played a game like that before. I just knew I liked the story, but God, if I could find my old memory card and load up that save, like you'd probably take one look at my gear and my build and be like, what were you doing?
Oh no, the sphere grid confused the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, it wasn't until a few years ago when we started streaming Final Fantasy 14 that like I learned that like Blitzball wasn't popular. Like I was like, oh, what? I liked Blitzball. I couldn't have experienced that game in more of a vacuum, like completely unspoiled, didn't know anyone else playing it. I got to, I don't know what Seymour fight it was, but couldn't beat him. Never continued past that point in that game. So, yeah. And then I remember my mom picking me up like 10-2 because she was like, oh, he played the first one. I'll get this for him. So I played, I don't know, 25% of that game without beating it.
I love that one. That was my favorite.
Without even knowing the end of original 10. I do remember really enjoying the gameplay of 10-2. I cannot wait to get there in our lineup to see like if it matches up with my extremely fuzzy memories at all. But I do remember thinking I remember first loading it up like and being a teenage boy and being like kind of embarrassed, be like, ooh, this doesn't seem like it's aimed at me. And then just still being like, well, mom spent good money on this. I'm going to get my money or her money's worth out of this. So I've continued forward and I do remember having a good time, but that's about it.
There's a trend right now in streaming, maybe the last 2 years of World of Warcraft streamers looking up and going, well, what'd I miss over the last 10 years? And a lot of Final Fantasies is the answer to that too.
Oh yeah.
I am the resident old here, as I tend to be in places. I grew up on the NES. That was my first console, and I was very much a Nintendo kid growing up. And this was
his
the era
birthday
where
is Mario Day. It explains a lot about him. His birthday is Mario Day.
It's true. That is accurate.
Oh, March 10th?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
And in fact, when I was in elementary school, cute factoid, I made up my own Nintendo fan club logo called the Nintendo Maniacs, and not realizing I really enjoyed graphic design when I was like 7 or 8. But my mom would go buy puff paints and I would make my own t-shirts.
Oh, sick.
And so Nintendo Power was my Bible. And so that's how I first learned about Final Fantasy was Nintendo Power. And they had a big spread about Final Fantasy 1. And of course, at the time, it was just Final Fantasy. We didn't even realize that there was already a second one already out by the time we got the first one. And my family didn't have a lot of money. So while we did have a Nintendo, I didn't have many games for it. So I'd go to friends' house that their parents did make money. They were both in the tech sector and they had a copy of Final Fantasy 1. So my real original memories of Final Fantasy 1 is I would start the game. They wouldn't let me save because it was their save file, not mine, but I could play it and I would get to the marsh cave, then die. And I did that for so long, even when I bought it on the Dawn of Souls with 1 and 2 on the Game Boy Advance. I'd boot up the first one, I'd play it, and I'd get to the marsh cave, and then I'd stop. I didn't actually finish 1 until the Pixel remasters, but I played a lot of the first chunk of 1. Although I think I've sort of already gotten the answers for the first Final Fantasy that you really sort of played or experienced. So let's skip ahead, and I want to ask you, what now, as we are now all adults, what draws you to Final Fantasy?
Kyle?
No, I was holding out for you, man.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
All right.
it's how do you say it without being too cheesy? You know, the mature stories, like actual stories in video games that process the characters, and then on top of it, a magic system that works within the world and is often tied to those emotions. That adventure is very clean cut. Usually you got to kill God or something at the end, or the bad guy, the emperor, or something along those lines. But sometimes it's all and none at the same time. And in that sea of games that can be so pulpy, can be so cheesy, like your Resident Evils as well, it's fun to have a game that takes itself so seriously while still allowing those moments of fun. And to me, it reminds me most of reading a book. Granted, sometimes in Final Fantasy, you're reading a lot too, so it might be part of the satisfaction of feeling like you completed a thing.
I'd say that that first and foremost for me is the characters, particularly with Final Fantasy 14. That's definitely what kind of endeared me to it. So it's been interesting, if not a bit challenging, revisiting the earliest entries because they're not particularly character driven.
Yeah, I think y'all get the similar experience that I do of reverse nostalgia with the older ones, in that I play them and I go, oh, hey, this is in 14. This is this in 14, and getting to see where it came from. But I'm always being excited to see something I know from 14. Like when I got to Pandemonium in 2, I was excited to see the differences and all that. So yeah, the stories have been incredible. They're my favorite.
Oh, if we're talking just about old ones too, just the monsters. Like it's so off the wall. It's so bizarre. Just tape some arms on a bee, and call it whatever the hell you want. Like that level of creativity and freedom it's not really seen anywhere else in gaming. And I think that's just so cool.
I know Basil does you did the Akira Toriyama panel last year after he passed, and I think there was a moment he was showing like concept drawings of monsters in Dragon Quest and then what they became, and seeing like because I know a lot of them are very similar to what's in Final Fantasy, and I'm like, just seeing the creativity is just like, what were you thinking when you came up with this? Like what brought this type of inspiration? So.
Well, and that's and that's kind of one of the magical things about Final Fantasy in its design is you have all these real world god names, maybe even, places or references in history, but then it's also giant squid. That's called that ancient god's name. Like don't reinvent the wheel, just keep moving. But also I'm glad you gave yourself a basis. Like there's always a Shiva, but it's not necessarily always going to look the exact same way game to game. I mean, Ifrit is a great example of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for me, the first Final Fantasy I played from start to finish, well, at the time, going back to the weird numbering system they used, was, for me, called Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo, which we know now as Final Fantasy IV. And y'all haven't gotten there yet, but for me, that was the moment that a piece of media broke my brain. I know for a lot of folks, it might be the original Star Wars movies, where I was at the right young age, early teen, not teens, but like 11, 12, maybe 13. And I am playing this and, oh, this has a story. Oh, these characters are doing things. Oh, that happened. Oh, media can make you feel things. Oh, wow. This is kind of amazing. I didn't know that. I was just a dumb little kid, and now I understand the concept of a larger world. And it was that video game that did it for me. So by that point, I was then hooked. The crystals, the chocobos, all the things. Like it got me to the point where it's funny, Kyle, you mentioning the N64 school and then the PlayStation 1 school. Because as I've said, growing up, I was just a Nintendo fanatic. I was the guy who would go and be like, no, actually, blast processing is just a marketing term. Thank you. Sonic moves that fast. He could move that fast on the Super Nintendo just as well on the Sega Genesis. And then the N64 came out, and I loved going to Toys R Us and playing Mario 64. And I hadn't chose my next console yet, or to save up or anything. But realizing that, one, the next Final Fantasies were going to be on PlayStation, not Nintendo, but also the next Castlevania game was going to be on PlayStation and not Nintendo, maybe start going, I don't know about this. Then what happened to me was I was talking to a friend, and he spoils a character thing that happens in Final Fantasy VII. Chances are you know the one. And I went, dude, what the hell? And he's like, what? You've been playing it? I'm like, no, Seth, I have not been playing it. He goes, what are you talking about? Seth, I'm broke. My family's broke. We can't afford a new system right now. I'm still playing my Super Nintendo. I don't have a PlayStation. Come that Christmas, he sold his PlayStation to my mom for cheap, along with his copy of Final Fantasy VII, because he felt so bad.
Oh my goodness.
What a bro.
Oh, good old
My
Seth.
goodness.
Yeah. So I became a PlayStation guy after living so much of my life, just my entire life, thinking about it for me at the time as a kid, and moving over. For me, it was like a moment where I'm like, I guess I'm doing PlayStation stuff now. I guess that's me now. It's my personality. Okay, so I'm not a Nintendo guy. I'm a
He's still a
Squaresoft
Nintendo guy.
guy.
Don't let him fool you.
I still am a Nintendo guy. Absolutely, 100%.
We had a Switch 2 day one.
Yeah. So my next question, because this is, for me, looking online, a popular internet question, because people can't decide what a Final Fantasy is. What do you mean it's an action game? What do you mean it's like Devil May Cry? What do you mean it's this or it's that? So when you think about what Final Fantasy is, what does it make you think of? What do you think makes a Final Fantasy?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Chocobos.
Yes, gotta have the chicken.
Sure. I wasn't expecting you to be so singular and literal. I liken it to Star Wars. I think of it as like grand scale adventure that is bordering on operatic, and it's just very romantic, and not necessarily literally romantic, but just kind of in the depiction of its world.
I completely agree with that.
Now, if you're baiting us whether it's turn-based or not, that is a very complicated discussion.
Yeah, no, we.
I also like.
Yeah.
We like 16, so don't worry about it.
Is it an interesting discussion, Kyle? Is it interesting?
I find it more interesting because of the longevity of the workers who often continue to make these games and their desire to innovate. and their desire to create something that they themselves would want to play, rather than a team continuing to try to recapture nostalgia or make the same thing over and over. And that is fascinating. That right now my brain is so Expedition 33 tuned. I'm like, just do that. Make this. I had fun being Clive, but let's do this one now.
Yeah, I remember playing 10 and I was like, oh, like it's still turn-based, but a little bit not. And I was confused. But quickly I was like, okay, this is how it plays. Like, I just got to adapt. And then going to 14, I was like, I don't know how the crap to move anything. But I will say, like, I played 16 and I never played a Devil May Cry game. We played the 7 remake, and so I was like, okay, that's kind of what I was thinking it was going to be like. But I thoroughly enjoyed 16 and its gameplay. I think I'm one of the very few that did. And I felt like I was pretty good at it. Like, Basil was like, you really should probably play Devil May Cry after this. But yeah, like, I feel like what Garrett said, like, as long as it has the, Final Fantasy is known for their story, is known for, just like you said, the operatic, like the grand adventure. Like, there's so many things that make it feel Final Fantasy. I don't really feel like the turn-based or not makes it. Like, because you always get excited about the certain monsters. You get excited about the certain, the certain tropes that we all know. Like, people see them in 14. Like, they'll see something, go, oh yeah, that's totally from this Final Fantasy or from this one. But it's all Final Fantasy, and it's like, I feel like those are the things that make it, not necessarily how you play it. I don't know.
And I'm really interested whenever y'all get to playing Final Fantasy IV, because that's when they introduced the concept of the active time battle system. And they introduced it because the guy designing the combat systems and things, he was trying to recreate the feeling, he says, of F1 racing, where he wanted a little bit more of an action, exciting element to it that they couldn't do in the previous games. So even back in the Super Nintendo era and beyond, they were still always thinking about how they could make even the turn-based games more action-y. So I really don't think that whether it's turn-based or action, it can still be a Final Fantasy. But again, we are talking about the older Final Fantasies. Y'all have played now through 1 through 3. What prompted you to actually start this journey?
Are you waiting on me, Garrett?
I'm thinking, because we had so many conversations about
it. Other than your
I
chat bugging you.
I don't think I can pinpoint a singular jumping off point. Like, just we've been asked to play so many of these, and we've thought about playing so many of these. And I think we got up to a point where, like, 2 to 3 times a month when we would meet to talk about what we're doing, what we're going to play, what we're going to, what our next video is going to be. It would inevitably devolve into something that didn't help us at all with our schedule for the next week, because we would end up being like, should we play Final Fantasy? Insert your number here. And it would always spiral until we couldn't decide what one to play and when to play it. And at some point when we were having a larger discussion over, kind of what our 2 to 5 year plan looked like, was it me? I think it was me, Kyle. Jump in if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I literally put my hands up and just went, what if we just play them all and we just do it in order?
I couldn't even tell you anymore, man. Yeah, we circled that so many times, and ultimately that was the choice, right? Like, there are ones in here that may not be people's favorite, ones that people do not emotionally resonate with. However, those are important to the greater journey, and I love seeing that transformative process. Was particularly weird in 3 to see, the chameleon turn kind of sideways. The art was absurd. But to see that
sprites were strange.
But to see that evolution is just so captivating. And there's no other way to do it. You gotta start with 1. You can't put the genie back in the bottle either. Like, if we jump straight to 7 and then to turn around and be like, well, what was it like before this? Well, now it's not even a spoiler concern. It's just it was right. It was the right thing to do.
Okay, I now have an additional question, because I'm actually kind of curious. When y'all get through 10, are y'all going to actually try 11?
Yes, with a plan. We are going to cut off a chunk of it and see it in its chunk and tired. There will be a stopping point. There will be something of a guided tour. I know there's like I know Final Fantasy's raid right now is kind of hitting the highlights. I don't think we'll make it that far.
Basil, so the group that we do extremes with, they had, what hell was it, a month where they all played 11, because one of the group is through another podcast that he listens to, and one of the hosts there is an 11 sicko, like absolutely loves it. So he wanted to get more people into it, especially with the raids coming out for 14, and so he got into 11 for a month, and I'm sitting here watching him, and I'm like, nope, just nope. It does not look appealing. It looked so janky, but at some point I'm probably gonna have to dip my toe in it, because the guy over there, Vic, he loves 11. He was like, look, just try it, just try it once. I'm like, I don't wanna. But if I'm doing a playthrough as well, I'm like, I need to do something in 11. I don't want to just skip over it, because I remember when 11 came out. I remember after 10-2, I was super excited for what the next Final Fantasy would be. Found out it was going to be an MMO, is going to be online. And I'm like, I can't do online. I had AOL. It was dial-up. It was terrible. Like there was no way my internet could handle that. And I didn't think my system at the time could even handle it. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to play 11. I can't play 11. This is the first Final Fantasy I'm going to have to skip. And then I didn't even get back into it until 14. And, but yeah, so I feel like 11's very much it's a thing. So I wish y'all best of luck when you get there. I know people that are so passionate about it. So hopefully it'll be fun. Because I know Basil's enjoyed it. You've enjoyed it.
I still enjoy it. Like, I've been playing it again. So yeah, the other podcasts we're talking about since now, full disclosure, it is the Charlie and Dropouts podcast. They're part of the Axe of the Blood God RPG podcast family. And one of the guys there, Victor Hunter, he started as a 14 sicko, then thought, well, I'm going to go back and try 11. And he really fell for 11 as well, like today, modern times 11, because retail 11 now is not what 11 was back in the day. And
our dog is whining.
That she's been. And so last year his whole idea was the campaign, he called it, was asterisk except 11, because he was getting real tired of people going like ranking all these Final Fantasies and then ignoring 11 even exists, because it's quote unquote and the MMO one, even though 14 is also the MMO one. And 14 also, sometimes I'll still talk to people who go, yeah, but it's the MMO one. I'm like, yeah, but you can do the whole free trial and you can play mostly by yourself at this point. Like, you could give it a shot. And they're like, nah. But I was able, with that group, we all decided to play 11, because when I first tried 11 was back when it was new and current. And I had a real bad experience where the person I thought I was playing with, they were already max level at the time. And they plopped me on a server that apparently was predominantly played by Japanese people. They were doing it there to practice their Japanese, and they didn't adequately explain the steps I needed to take to actually get through the first dungeon. And so I tried playing it for many months, several months, and just failing at it because I didn't understand the one person I had to go talk to in a city to actually progress the plot. And eventually I'm like, I can't do this. I really like summoners. I like summoning things. I don't know. And then a buddy of mine went, hey, I'm playing World of Warcraft now. They've got a warlock. You can summon stuff there. How about you just come play World of Warcraft with me? And I went, sure. And he was like, look, we'll actually play together. Don't worry. And I'm like, and we did. And it was fun. And long story short, when I first started playing 14, back when 14 hit PS4, Summoner played like Affliction Warlock, so it was like coming home. But yeah, okay. So at this point, this is now our spoiler warning. And by say spoilers, I mean spoilers for Final Fantasies 1, 2, and 3, and their equivalent bits in Final Fantasy 14. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about those things. We'll be right back. This is the Carbuncle Chronicle. We are back here at the Carbuncle Chronicle and the wonderful gentlemen of the Grinding Gear. And we're talking about Final Fantasies 1, 2, and 3 and their place in 14. Just warning y'all, again, we are doing spoilers. And our spoiler food this time is chicken fettuccine, which is flat, thick pasta smothered in a rich cream sauce with tender slices of chicken thigh. This food offers bonuses to critical hit, vitality, and skill speed. It was introduced in patch 5.4, Futures Rewritten during the Shadowbringers expansion, and it was included the Matoya's Relict dungeon, which features Master Matoya, who is a pretty awesome NPC in Final Fantasy XIV, but also in Final Fantasy I, which is our first game, because of course, like we mentioned earlier, you gotta go in order. And Final Fantasy I is, well, the sort of foundation of all of Final Fantasy that we know it. It gave us the initial set of jobs. It gave us the 4 crystals. It gave us airships. It gave us time loops and robots. So when people say that you're not supposed to have science fiction in your Final Fantasy, it's been there since game number 1.
Shocking.
Yeah, I remember, speaking of Matoya, I remember when I got to that cave and it starts playing Matoya's theme, and I was like, I know this.
I think that was my first Leo point, as I like to call it. Yeah, it has been fun going through that. It's like not why I'm necessarily playing it, but I don't mind it when it happens. I am useless on music though. The folks were so disappointed when I played 3 and I didn't pick out that Grauha's theme was yoinked from it. I was just like, I couldn't hum you a single bar. I don't remember. There's too much music across all of Final Fantasy.
I'm glad you brought up the time travel thing, though, because that was probably one of the biggest, O's. I think we spent all of Final Fantasy 14 saying, they're not going to go that far. There's no way they do time travel. That's ridiculous.
If only we had known. It's literally how the franchise kicks off.
And then your stream crashes right before you do the time travel.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 1's got to be the biggest surprise so far. Now that we're exiting the 8-bit era, even though we were playing pseudo 16-bit interpretations of the games, I think it's my favorite. I really like Final Fantasy 1. It's such a solid adventure to set off on.
I agree. Between 1, 2, and 3, I do agree. I think 1 was my favorite.
I think I made a joke that isn't really a joke. I think it's how I actually feel in our Final Fantasy 3 video, that it was nice of them to release all of the 8-bit games in the order of quality. 1 is my favorite, 2 is my second favorite, 3rd is easily my least favorite of the 8-bit games.
Yep. I remember, Basil, was it 1 that we were playing and I was like, why is Black Mage so terrible? And you were like, don't worry, it gets better.
It gets better. They
all
get better.
It gets better. Just keep going.
Final Fantasy 1, it really is, I don't want to say lightning in a bottle, but they certainly caught the lightning. And I think they've been able to, keep the lightning in that bottle a few times. But it's just this really neat take on the whole RPG genre, because this was back when their big influences were things like Dragon Quest, but also stuff like Ultima or Wizardry, and even just base Dungeons and Dragons. So much of the monster designs, they'll have different names, but they really did look through that monster manual and went, I want that one, and I want that one, and we'll call this one Marlboro for some reason. I want that one.
Yeah, barely legally distinct for sure. It was the effort that they put into transforming them minimal, but it's just so classic. What can you say? It stood the test of time, and you really can't assault it for what it did with that Gygaxian look.
Now, playing it is very much a case of, I love it when Japanese creators will take something that's very, what one would think Western, then put their own spin on it. And just through that lens, you get something really neat and cool. Like, for example, Evangelion and Christian and Jewish mythos and things. And them just filtering it through what they think looks cool. And you get something really interesting out of it.
It was just it was classic in just a really well executed way. And I don't know, of the 3, it's the one I have the biggest pull to want to go back and do a challenge run, or just an intentionally different run, build a different party, go through, see what I can pull off.
And it's also one of those games where with enough preservation and thoughtfulness put into it. I'm pretty sure any party combination, you can do it. A friend of ours, he loved back in the day, he would do the 4 white mages and go through and play the whole game like that. He joked like back in the day in high school, that was his party trick where you're like, hey, want to see me play through Final Fantasy 1 with nothing but white mages? And they're like, you can't do that. And he's like, yeah, watch this.
Oh, that's sick.
Was one the one with the bridge with the war machine thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I got held hostage by my own chat room.
I
too.
was watching that. I felt so, because I had actually recently done it. And I was like, oh no.
And then I was traveling when you did it, Kyle. And I think it's the only time in my life I rushed somewhere to watch you do something I've done. Like I rushed back to my hotel room that night so I could watch you hit the bridge in Final Fantasy 1.
That was good. I was very proud of my luck that night.
Yeah, you found it way faster than me. I'm very jealous.
RNG is the worst.
Good old War Mech. I forget what they call it now, but I remember it being War Mech at the time. And it would just eviscerate people when they'd get there. Like I remember talking to friends in elementary school and scouting and things, and that was always the thing of like, did War Mech get you too? Yeah. Yeah, it was rough. Again, we were like 10 years old here, talking like we're survivors of a war. Like you think we'd left Vietnam the way that we were talking about Final Fantasy, but that's how it felt at the time. It was that robot could F you up.
I had a few of those growing up, like the water temple in Ocarina of Time, that as everyone in school was hitting that, just like coming to school with just this dejected look on their face.
It's part of the magic of that time period and the oral storytelling. It's all we had.
Well, and maybe a Prima guide.
Yeah. Eventually we'd all surrender and tell our dads, hey, can you go out and get me a guide?
Yeah, back when I was a kid, that was actually, I think, if memory serves, if it wasn't the first, it was one of the first Nintendo wrote a strategy guide, because there was tips and tricks and things in Nintendo Power Magazine because they wanted to give people a leg up on these games because they could be hard. And I think Final Fantasy 1 was the first time where they're like, oh, they need more than just like a section. There needs to be an entire guide. And you got that in lieu of a magazine, was they just sent you the guide for that month instead. And while I didn't play and finish one until these Pixel remasters, I read that guide from cover to cover to cover till it eventually fell apart.
Those are so magical. I remember getting the VHS of Banjo-Tooie in the mail. I don't know why. I don't know why Nintendo Power did that. But they were showing off Donkey Kong for the...
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, they were trying to sell you the expansion pack. And so they sent out VHSs in the mail.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, wait, I think I got that. Wow, that is a memory. Yeah, I had a Nintendo Power sub for a while, too. I really wish I still had those issues laying around somewhere.
Yeah, my parents were like, no, it's too expensive. So I would just look at it whenever we'd go to like you said, the grocery store or Walmart or somewhere, and I'd go find the magazines.
I got one. I could at some point I broke my folks down. They're like, okay, you can have one subscription, but you got to pick. And for a while it was Nintendo Power, and then I got really into Sonic comics, so I swapped it out for the Archie subscription to Sonic.
Nice.
Yeah, one of my core memories of a kid growing up was my dad. He would take me to Books A Million. And so he would go and then just read all the various newspapers they had that was from around the country. So he'd read like USA Today, Chicago Tribune, New York Times, and all that. Well, I just hang out there for a little bit. And then I would just walk over like 10 feet to the video games magazine section, do the same thing, only with like EGM and Game Pro and Game Players and all that.
I still do that anytime I travel, but I just know all the news. It's so disappointing.
Well, I mean, also the landscape of people, playing and talking about and reviewing and commentating on games is also now just so much more online than it was then, when magazines were how you found out about stuff.
Yeah, it was it was a massive part of my childhood. I guess because I was subscribe to Nintendo Power as well. I didn't really think of it as journalism because, like, yeah, it's Nintendo Power. They're writing about Nintendo games. They want you to buy Nintendo games. It wasn't like until I remember my family moving to the middle of nowhere and cable wasn't an option. They got satellite and I got like G4 and I was like, wait,
Oh yeah.
you can review video games, which I know the feeling between Final Fantasy fans and the channel G4 is a little tense, but it was eye opening for me at the time, just being like, oh wait, you can like, I don't know. I never really just like stopped and thought about the quality of games and why I continued playing some games over the other, kind of really until I got that random TV channel.
Oh yeah, I remember finding that and I was like, there's a whole channel about video games? Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's how I've seen a lot of, like, I remember seeing like old Final Fantasy cutscenes because they had a 30-minute show that was just cutscenes from video games.
Oh yeah, I remember. Like, that was up there with finding out anime was on the Sci-Fi Channel like at 11 o'clock at night on Saturday, so I would stay up and watch it.
I remember hearing stories about that. I definitely missed it, which I'm mad about in retrospect because it's like, well, I had Sci-Fi Channel. I could have been in on that. But yeah, I didn't get into anime until Toonami. And then I would stay up late to watch Adult Swim so I could see the uncut version of the Toonami run, which was like the most tiny amount of blood you've ever seen removed from a piece of animation. Yeah. But I thought it was cool and edgy, and it was cool that they said damn sometimes.
Oh yeah, Toonami was definitely my go-to. That, I remember first seeing Sailor Moon on there, and I was like, I love this. And I now have quite a Sailor Moon merch collection. It's pretty sad. But it was
about that.
Amazing. It was amazing. Between that and then 4Kids with Yu-Gi-Oh, I was like, this is great. And then my friend Josh like happened to figure out how to download other anime that was still in Japanese from the internet and like burn them onto a CD for me so I could watch them on my computer. And that's how I found like Magic Knight Rayearth and Chobits and Cardcaptor Sakura.
Dang, I just feel like I'm hearing Kyle with a different voice rant about his childhood.
No, when y'all were doing Endwalker and Kyle, you were making the Sailor Moon connection, I was so excited because I had done the exact same thing when we played through it. And I had sent messages to a friend of mine. I was like, Esther, they're season 1 Sailor Mooning us. And so when Kyle started saying that, I was like, Basil, you're not going to believe this.
I can attest to both these things.
We did a bad thing and played Endwalker in the same room. Should not have done that. We learned.
I feel like you can divide anyone who's ever watched our streams into two camps. Those that heard Kyle liken Endwalker to Sailor Moon and thought it was the most mind-blowing thing they had never considered in their life, and the people who are like, oh, this ruined Endwalker for me. It's one or the other. That was such a fun time. This is like, I've barely seen any Sailor Moon, so I was just such an odd man out, but I had so much fun watching so many other people just get like activated like a sleeper agent when Kyle was just going off on his Sailor Moon analogy.
I was so proud.
Oh, for me, I was actually sort of in that actual first camp of, it didn't ruin it for me, but my pods went, oh, I see what they're doing. Okay.
It lowered the stakes of the final zone for him when I said that. He was like, oh, well, okay. Fine.
It's a great story structure. Yeah, use it, absolutely. They made good use of it.
And for me, I felt they did something similar, but with a twist in that final zone of Dawn Trail when you're having to, turn things off. And so for me, it was like, I now get what people were feeling in Endwalker. I am feeling it now in Dawn Trail. Okay, I understand now. But before we move on to 2, I do feel remiss that a lot of the music that we think of in Final Fantasy, a lot of it also did start very first with Uematsu's tracks in 1. We get, the theme of Final Fantasy, or as a lot of people, we would call it the bridge theme, or even just the prelude, where he had to think of something up real quick and thought of a scale with some extraness to it. Even the victory theme and stuff. Like, there's so much music of Final Fantasy that we just take for granted. All did start with Final Fantasy 1.
So for our wedding, of course, we had all of the nerdy music. Like, I walked down the aisle to Sailor Moon. No, I walked down the aisle to Uranus, but my bridesmaids walked down to Sailor Moon. But we walked back out to the Final Fantasy, the ending theme, I guess.
We walked out to the theme of Dragon Quest.
No, we walked out to Final. You walked into Dragon Quest. We walked out to Final Fantasy.
Right.
So like, and I knew about it from 14. Like I'd heard it, but getting to hear it in 1 was pretty emotional for me. So,
but we did when they introduced us to at the reception. We did play the Final Fantasy 14 Victory Fanfare.
Okay, I didn't remember.
Oh,
that.
nice.
That's awesome. My wife walked down the aisle to Zelda's Lullaby. So
Nice.
yeah, we got some video game weddings going on here.
It was great. Yeah, it was. We even had like the Hildebrand music during the reception. And
It's awesome.
It was fun.
And Papaya.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I love
That's Basil's
Papaya.
favorite. That's Basil's favorite track.
Nice.
Yeah. When I first played 14 back in the day, it was during one of the first few Hatching Tide events.
I was telling them that's during the break. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Where I thought that was just the music that played in Ul'dah for a while, because that's where I started out at. And so when the cat girls are dancing to it, I'm like, oh, it's the music the cat girls dance to. That's cool. Not realizing it's event theme.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, that is like low key one of my favorite tracks. It's just so it's like it's a cozy blanket. It makes me calm.
Yeah.
I really like the Keiko's piano theme version of it that she did for one of the CDs they did, where it's like
I'll have to look
piano
that up.
tracks,
I haven't
half
heard that.
primals.
Shoot, I'll have to go find that.
I think all of that
pulled
might
up
be on
some of those-
Spotify now.
Yeah, I pulled up some of those albums before, but I feel like I would have remembered hearing a piano rendition of Papaya.
It's real good. I always tell people, if anyone looks out at FanFest, I'm like, yes, the primals, the concert is excellent. It's amazing. Definitely go see it. But do not sleep on the piano concert beforehand. Not just for the Soken doing his goof with the automaton, but Keiko's piano playing is just absolute amazement. Like, she is so good at what she does, and she does it very well.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of it before we ran because we hadn't beaten Endwalker yet.
Yeah.
it was
Like
really
we were doing
sick.
we were doing the Deep Dungeon last night, and there's a new piano arrangement of A Long Fall, and I was like, Keiko's amazing. Like, it was
Oh,
incredible.
yeah. That sounds good.
So
Let's move on to Final Fantasy II, where for
actually-
me, actual 2. This is the second Final Fantasy they made, originally on the Famicom. Then now, you can play it as a Pixel remaster. But for me, again, as an old, I remember things like Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, where sometimes you would get old, NES games that the sequel is more like Mega Man 2, where it's just bigger, better. They figured out the kinks, and now, oh my gosh, this was amazing and perfect idea of what they were doing originally. But sometimes they go like Zelda 2 did, or Castlevania 2 did, where it gets weird, where they're actually not sure what a sequel should be. So they start just trying some stuff. And I think for a lot of folks, that's where 2 gets, in my opinion, a bad rap. I find it a very interesting game.
I enjoyed
And
it.
it what's wild for me is that it also created an entire different video game series. Like Kawazu, who was one of the main guys behind 2, he went on to start making the whole Saga game series. So if you like how 2 plays, there's an entire video game series, folks, that you can play that I'll play a lot like 2. And I also didn't realize just how much more a story 2 had until I played it.
Oh yeah, that was my big. I think it's a major reason why I think 2 is why I enjoy it so much more than 3 is the fact that it's like, oh, this has a proper narrative in the individual characters. Maybe sometimes it's as simple as Guy Speak Beaver, but Guy is Guy is a character, Guy is his own person, not just like a group of Onion Knights.
Yeah, when I played it, I remember at one point I went, Basil, I think I need to go back. I need to figure out what Final Fantasy actually has the biggest death count. Because I felt like in 2, people were just dropping left and right. But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it caught me by surprise. I wouldn't have been able to play it back in its 8-bit era because we never got an actual official release, but it probably would have blown my mind as a kid to just see that many characters just biting the dust through the adventure of the game.
But 2 also brought us things. Well, 2 almost brought us Moogles. They had the design for the Moogle ready, but they decided where they're going to put the Moogles. It didn't make sense because it was like in a cave with like water and stuff. So they wanted something more quote unquote aquatic. And as I understand it, that's why in that cave there are beavers.
Huh.
Which, if you also notice in the first, you don't find Moogles, but you do find beavers.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was really surprised when Basil said, "Oh, these are from 2." I was like, "What?" So yeah, so that was neat to see when we got there. And that one also was where was that where Lolly Ho first came in?
I believe so, yeah.
It might have been in 1 because there was dwarves in the first game.
Yeah, I remember there
I
being.
didn't remember it.
It wasn't as defined.
Yeah.
For the first one, also again, it's very much Final Fantasy 1 is so secretly D&D coded, where you have elves and dwarves, and they're sort of in their own little areas of the game, but they're there. So I don't remember if Lolly Ho was 1 or 2. It's been a minute since I've played the games.
Okay, it's looking like it was supposed to originally have appeared in Final Fantasy 1, but it was localized to Hooray.
Okay, that sounds right.
Okay, if okay, yeah, I'm on a wiki. I'm on the wiki entry for Lolly Ho right now. So
Oh, God bless. God, 12 bless y'all. 12 bless the folks out there hitting the wikis, doing the hard work for us. I do know that 2 did give us Sid.
Yes, 2 is when we first got Sid.
2's the first Sid, yeah, and I believe that's true across, like, regardless of what version you play. Or wait, did they shoehorn a Sid into the Pixel remaster of 1, or am I misremembering?
I don't think so.
Okay,
They did shoehorn a Sid in the Game Boy Advance version of 1.
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I know there's a technical Final Fantasy 1 Sid, but he is not accepted by a majority of the fan base as an actor. It's
Look, he didn't get a magic card, so he doesn't count.
That's right.
Yeah. He's like Anakin. He can sit on the council, but he's not granted the rank of master.
I need to watch Star Wars again.
I recommend.
When Anna mentioned that she liked 2 more than 3, and that y'all liked 2 more than 3, I'm like, oh man,
I was so excited. I was like, 7 degrees.
that is not normally how that goes.
Yeah, I think I wonder how much of it is an effect of playing these games publicly, because like heading into 2, we just received so many messages about adjust your expectations. This one's pretty rough for a lot of people. This is their least favorite. It's this or 13. They kind of go head to head for popularly derided, popularly unpopular Final Fantasy entries. And I don't like, 3 was just so random and so devoid of story for me that I was just like, really? Y'all hating on 2? I guess you really like the job system, because for me it was no contest between 2 and 3.
2 was also just it. I didn't have a kid's experience with it, so that's important to get out of the way. Like, I remember Roughnecks, the TV show, having like my first on-screen death and being like, oh my God, animation can do that. That was the Starship Troopers kids show.
Oh, yeah.
So, dude, it was so campy. It was comedy gold. He went to hell, punched the devil in the face, and came back. It made no sense. But that willingness to just be outrageous and the system of leveling up your spells while very grindy still gave you investment in the characters. And in the end, 3, just hey, you finally got Dark Knight. Never mind, it's a ninja. It's better than that. It's just like full-blown transforming your character. You just left that game going, who am I? What did I accomplish? Who was the Cloud of Darkness?
I'm trying to remember if I played that before or after Chaotic came out, because I was like, I'm done with Cloud of Darkness. I do not want to see this thing ever again.
Oh no, what a choice.
Yeah. I still need to finish that.
Yeah, it was bizarre. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm unintentionally contrarian, because even with 3, my favorite part of it was the final dungeon, and then I mentioned that, and like everyone was like, "What are you talking about? The final dungeon's terrible." I'm like, well, it wasn't just full of monster closets like every other dungeon in Final Fantasy 1 through 2, so I kind of dug it. Like, mechanically, I thought it was pretty neat, and it felt much more like a what I think of as like a more modern dungeon, where you had to go to like the 3 separate points to accomplish a goal before you could even take on the final boss. Like, that to me like was much more rewarding than Even with the map system in the Pixel remaster, which can make things easier, like you still get got by those monster closets.
Oh yeah.
I still remember I should have kept a count how many times in 2 I'd walk into an empty room.
Oh my gosh, I remember you streaming that, and I was like, jeez. Every time it was just an empty room.
Yeah, and so that's why I was very surprised that the final dungeon in Final Fantasy III isn't more popular. Because like, what? But compared to 1 and 2, I thought it was awesome. Plus, it's quite the gauntlet. And we almost made it through without dying, which would have been a more authentic experience, as you didn't have quick save in the original version of the game. Yeah, we biffed it on one of I think the second mini boss.
I cast Reflect on myself, which means the heal spells went to the boss. I just didn't know how
I
Reflect.
did that too. I did that too, and I hated it.
Don't worry, that concept will treat you right in a later game, but I won't say which one.
You villain.
Something I did really like in 2 that I feel you see its permutations into 14 was that they sort of thought a neat idea would be to sort of include like the noun verb system of an adventure game, like a Maniac Mansion or what have you, into Final Fantasy 2, where you would have to say like keywords and things.
I really like that system. I thought that system was so unique and like so ahead of its time for an 8-bit game.
Yeah. And it's and I'm like, oh, that's where the whole Wild Rose thing comes from. Like that was for me was like, oh, now I understand why they kept referencing Wild Rose in 14 in random things. And shoot, even in the latest patch, the whole adventure game section really feels like they thought the whole idea of putting adventure game elements into an RPG is such a good idea. I wish more people would try that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I love a dialogue wheel. Like I adore Mass Effect, and also a big SWTOR fan. It's a solid MMO that does the dialogue wheel really freaking well. And so yeah, when we got to that point when that got revealed to us pretty early on in FF2, I was like, oh man, an 8-bit dialogue wheel. Let's freaking go. I love this. It was just, I don't know. It was neat. And I don't know what I was expecting. I probably should have expected that I would find the history aspect of this journey fascinating, but it's not how I entered into this. I just really just wanted my own opinions of these older Final Fantasy games. At a certain point, you can only be told how to feel about it so much before you're just like, I just want to play it myself and find out. But now it's just really cool filling in the blanks and seeing how this genre developed through the lens of playing Final Fantasy games. Even if they are with the Pixel remasters, because when I find an interesting system of one of these games, the first thing I do is like go look up like, okay, what's this in the original? How faithful is it to the way it appeared in the original game? And so far they're all pretty darn faithful, with maybe some minor tuning adjustments.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because for me, this version of 2 is also how I finally first played 2. Because when I was a kid, my 2 is 4. And I never really played any of the fan translations. Since I never finished 1 on the GBA, I never tried 2 on the GBA. And so this was the first time for me to also play it. And I'm sure like y'all, I heard from a lot of people, oh, watch out 2. 2 is the weird one. 2 is the not good one. And I came away with 2 is a lot of fun. I don't see what people's problem with 2 is. I really enjoyed it. But now I also feel weird as we're going to move on to Final Fantasy III that I also really enjoyed. And I feel like I'm the positive one this time.
I hated I hated the mini thing. Anytime you had to change Minnie or the frog or whatever to go in, so I hated that so much.
It was so cute.
It was. But what really got me was the job. So the job system, I didn't understand it until very late in the game because Basil didn't actually explain it to me. And I was just like, why are there so many jobs? Like, this is someone that has every job in 14 at 100, and I'm sitting here going, there are too many jobs. Because I thought I needed to level them all. And he's like, no. He's like, this replaces this replaces this. I was like, why didn't you tell me that, like, hours ago? He's like, I didn't think to. I was like, thanks, hon.
Because for me, this was also how I first played 3. I never played the DS game. I was playing probably like Phoenix Wright or something at the time. And this was my first real experience really tackling 3. So for me, my brain just went, oh, there's this job, and now I'm getting a better version of that job. I start with Caller, then I move on to Summoner. Oh, this is awesome. I really feel like it's for me very, very similar to Final Fantasy 1, where you start with your base jobs and then you trade in the Bahamut, the Rat's Tail to Bahamut, and he goes, all right, now you're badass versions. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm badass versions. This is great. And 3 gave me that same sort of feeling. Spoilers for 5, just to let y'all know, that is not how 5 does it. 5 gives you your jobs, and those are your jobs. Yeah. There are no better versions of those jobs. I was waiting for that in 5, and that never happened.
I will probably like that a lot more then.
So, yeah. What 5 does is the first chunk of the game, they more or less throw all the jobs at you, like in chunks, like 3 does. But once they throw you all the jobs, you kind of have all the jobs, except for like 1 or 2. So, and the whole idea of 5 is that you're mixing, matching the jobs and making sub-jobs, and the combination of jobs is what 5 really does to make the job system sing. It's not 3 where here's a bunch of jobs, now here's better versions of all those jobs. But I also feel 3 is really, really where they pull so much out of 3 to plunk into 14. That was where I was like, oh.
Yeah, like I knew Crystal Tower came from 3 going into it, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to see what did they take from it. And then I got to Labyrinth of Ancients, and I went, Jesus Christ, I don't want to run Labyrinth of Ancients again.
Oh yeah, eventually on stream, I ended up just saying, I acknowledge the song. I acknowledge this monster. Because I didn't have anything left to say. Like, what am I, like, I couldn't become more excited because I was already there. This is all 14. Even stuff down to the Warriors of Dark.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Just the minor tweaks, the amount of influence. It's exactly what I did with D&D as a kid. None of my friends played video games who played D&D with me, so I could just steal whatever I wanted. And it kind of felt like 14 at the very beginning said, hey, which Final Fantasy has no one played? Is it 3? Let's go with that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Crystal Tower was it was an Alliance raid, which they were all wildly themed and very rarely like directly tied into the main story of the game itself. And so, like, yeah, I just figured it was just a love letter to 3. And then much later down the road, they're like, wait, hold up. Crystal Tower is really cool as a story device. Let's bring that back. Let's do something with that.
And then Shadowbringers really does, again, with the Warriors of Darkness, the theme Eternal Wind, just so much. I think Ishikawa is a big 3 fan.
I have to imagine.
And so there's so much of 3 gets put into 14. And so from when I was playing 3, 1, I liked having all these jobs and then better version jobs thrown at me. But also, this is where the first reverse nostalgia really got me, where I'm like, oh, you got that from there, this there? Oh, I like this. Okay. And then the other thing that really got me in 3, the moment that really made me go, they did this on a Nintendo, was when you crash land into that city. And they couldn't just make a really big city, so they broke it up into 4 different little chunks that were beside each other. So you got this gigantic city, but in 4 neighborhoods. And I just was not expecting to see something of that scale in this old video game.
That was very impressive. It was enormous. And it really spoke to how I feel like the game was meant to be played, which was exactly how I played video games as a kid. I would just get in Ocarina of Time. I'd jump on the horse because it was fun to ride the horse. And I have no doubt that if I had played this in a less see the story beat the game mindset, I would have said, hey, what does 4 monks look like? Can an onion knight fight the final boss? How high of a level is this worth grinding for and seeing what I can do?
Yeah, I feel that way about a lot of these. I'm just like, if I had had this when I was younger, back when I didn't have nearly as many games at my disposal and I had to make a game last, I would have replayed these over and over again.
Also, isn't 3 the one where do they update the overworld in 3?
It gets much bigger.
That's right.
At a certain point.
That's right. The airship was the way that they kind of kept you able to find new bosses and new enemy types. 2 was the one where they went in and replaced monster types on top of the old areas. And that was also really cool.
That was really neat. It's so funny, too, because we're playing Expedition 33 right now and thinking about how the airship in 3 reminds me of a key mechanic of Expedition 33 and how it slowly opens up the overworld to you. Like, gives you a lot more things that you can go and explore and get that were there the whole time, but you couldn't get to it yet because your mode of transportation doesn't have enough upgrades. Yeah, like, I guess you're totally right that that large city is impressive, but I guess it didn't really hit me at the time. But what really impressed me was the final airship and it just being this home base. Again, the Mass Effect fan in me, like I'm like, oh my God, this is like a proto-Normandy and even more useful in some ways because it's like, oh, there's just a shop where I can just buy what I need on the ship and there's a place to go heal and like it really just kind of activated my imagination and reminded me of how many versions of this in later games are a key part of games that I love.
Oh yeah, and later airships will do similar things, but because I had forgotten all about that until you mentioned it. Oh right, they did do that with the airships. That was really cool. Oh yeah, 3 was also a good game, but I also know that we've been talking for a minute, so I know that Anna's got to go do things. I'm sure y'all have things to do. So let me wrap this up with the last question of, now that you've played the first 3, what are you looking forward to in seeing in the Final Fantasy games you've yet to play?
And I know y'all played Endwalker, you've played the patches, a lot of that was from 4. Is there anything that you're looking forward to in 4, like finding what the source material was for that?
Oh my God, yes, but I don't know what that is. It's like when you're learning a brand new skill and someone says, any questions? And you just go, I don't even know what question, what should I know about this? We've been told so many times, you're going to understand 14 when you see 4. What part? I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, like I've mentioned already, it's not really why I'm going through it. The references are cool when we run across them, but it's far from the main reason I'm playing it. So I'm excited because I'm of the impression that starting at 4 and moving forward, that the games are much more narratively driven. I'm just excited to run across a new Final Fantasy narrative that blows my socks off. Really standard answer I give is that I cannot wait to have my own opinion about Final Fantasy VII, a game which I have heard so many opinions about to varying levels of detail. And my personal desire is to get to 8, just because going back to hanging out in the magazine aisle, being like, this Squall dude looks so cool. You can build a gun into a sword. That's cheating. That's too cool. We're not allowed to do that. Like, I'm really looking forward to playing that. Plus, I really like Eden Raid, and I know that cut some cloth off of Final Fantasy VIII. So, all right, I'll give you that. There's one reference. There's a pretty specific connection to Final Fantasy XIV that I am looking forward to coming across. But I was interested in 8 long before Eden Raid.
Well, and thankfully, 14 I still feel does overall a very good job of taking references but recontextualizing them within 14 itself. So, like, I know there's a lot of references in 4 in Endwalker, but again, a lot of them are also things unique to 14 themselves. So I do think y'all are in for some treats for sure. All right. Thank y'all both very much for coming on to our show. It has been an absolute treasure.
Yes, thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks for the chat. Thank you for not making fun of me for my opinions of early Final Fantasies.
Never.
Oh, no. They're your opinions. You worked very hard for them.
Oh, that's good. I haven't heard that. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm using that.
You are welcome to it. And you're also welcome to plug your stuff. Please plug away.
Oh, yeah. You can find us on YouTube at just search for Grinding Gear. Singular. There's not an S. We're not talking about cars. We're talking about gear and RPGs. And yeah, just look for the two goofy looking guys that use their real face on the internet. That's us.
And real names too. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird of us too. But it's what we got used to too long ago.
I am right there with you. When I started podcasting so many years ago, spoilers, it was in 2008 when I first tried to start doing this whole podcast thing. My first podcast ever was about Rock Band.
Whoa, really?
That's awesome.
Oh, shoot. Okay, let's talk that because that's one of my favorite games of all time.
It's really fun. It's really good. But maybe I'll have you on for Rock Band later, just on a different podcast. But yeah, so I was also doing the whole thing where I was just using my name because that was my name. Why not use Basil? That's my name. I'm trying to be a professional person on the internet doing my not professional podcast. So yeah, I am right there with you. Like when I have streamed here and there, I use my real face. So we are aligned. So speaking of things that are aligned, this has been an episode of the Carbuncle Chronicle, your podcast for everything awesome in Final Fantasy XIV. Our opening theme was done by my buddy DJ Inabito. He also goes by his actual name of James, but it was then redone by Anna to be of a more Final Fantasy thing. This editing for the episode was also done by Anna because she wanted to do it this time, and I am not going to tell her no. You can find our website at carbunclechronicle.com, or like I mentioned before, we're part of the OSMcast family of podcasts, and you can find all our things at OSMcast.com. There are lots of different podcasts. We've talked about lots of anime over the years. There are lots of interviews with anime voice actors. We also now have a more recent series we're calling The Awesome Table, where our friend Dylan leads us in conversations about tabletop role-playing games. And I mentioned earlier, we do have a section that's all about our stuff that we talked about for Neon Genesis Evangelion. All of that at awesomecast.com. You can also find links to our Patreon, our Discord, where if you want to talk to us about things, that is definitely a place you can go to. Our YouTube channel is OSMcast, but also Carbuncle Chronicle. Please leave us good reviews on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you can review podcasts. That would be amazing. You can find us also online various places and social medias at either Carbicast or Carbuncle Chronicle. You can find me on things like Blue Sky at It's Basil Time. You can find Anna at Angel Darkfire, where the middle A is missing. But again, thank you, Garrett and Kyle and Garrett, for coming on, talking with us. Thank you, Anna, as well, for heading this up and getting this whole thing together. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And never, ever forget, you tank the Bone Dragon up north. because we're on Primal, and that's
honestly don't know what Crystal does, but yeah, in Labyrinth of the Ancients, we always tank the Bone Dragon up north.
I just try not to spin things when I'm tanking. That's my goal. Is I plant my feet, and if it's wrong, at least it's not spinning.
Exactly. Melees can't fuss
than
at
that.
you.
You can do worse than that strategy. That'll get you through.